Go. Okay, go. Okay, hi everyone. Welcome to another Wolfram Language Design Review. The hopefully final part of our discussion about error handling for version 15. And Leonard, please.
Yeah, thanks, Tim. So, basically, after the last meeting, we've made a group effort to brainstorm the redesign according to your objections of the last time. And as a quick recap, we are still obviously talking about exceptions, which are errors propagated through exceptions, which are thrown by throw exception and caught by catch exceptions, and which have this feature of hierarchical error tags, symbolic error tags with inheritance. And so the main system symbols we would like to introduce in 15.0 are these ones, the core three symbols, throw exception, catch exception, and register exception type. In fact, I'm very sorry, there is another one more, which I missed here, which is just exception, which is new. This is a new exception object that is going to be inert and it is going to be used to propagate exceptions. And then there are two supporting symbols we'd like to introduce as well are exception types and exception type Q. The ones that are listed under error translation layer might be nice to discuss, but they are not strictly necessary for 15.0.
The name error function is obviously problematic given Earth.
Yeah, but that was the name that you invented, Steven, in August when we were discussing. Obviously, we can choose better name.
Should it not be exception function, or
Yeah,
is an
why-
exception and error two different things?
Yeah, it could be exception function as well. But these two functions, we might not even come to these two functions today. If we
Okay,
do,
fine.
we can talk about naming, obviously.
Okay.
So, the new iteration of the design. Here are the features that did not change. So errors are still propagated through exceptions. Exceptions can still have type hierarchies and inheritance, and they still integrate in exactly the same way as before with confirm and enclose.
Now,
Now,
remind me how that integration works with confirm and enclose.
Yeah. So basically, confirm and enclose for registered exception types, they internally start using throw exception and catch exception under the hood.
Okay.
And for arbitrary tags, they just work as they did before.
Okay.
And then tag inheritance works automatically for confirm and close using this registered exceptions because they're using this new machinery underneath. And also enclose can catch exceptions directly thrown by throw exception, and catch exceptions can catch confirms which are thrown by confirm functions. So
how does a confirm function throw an exception type?
It basically throws a standard confirm, but inside that standard confirm, there is an added property.
What's a standard confirm, right? There's no confirm is a
okay.
It's
so
an active
you
function.
mean
it's not
tagged?
an object.
I think.
Okay.
Like, do you just mean for tagged confirms that it will, if the tag is a registered exception type, then it will use throw exception and be catchable with catch exception.
And what are named exception types? Are they just strings or what?
Named or unnamed? Sorry.
Named exception types.
They are symbols.
We talked about this before. I was not entirely happy with that.
Yeah, I mean, the main rationale behind that is that the only reason why you ever want to register something is for inheritance. Because if you don't need inheritance, you could just throw a symbolic tag without registration. And
okay, so can you show me what it looks like?
Surely, I mean, surely it has to be a symbol though, because you need scoping. Like if I have a package where I have, I have my database's general exception or something like that. Maybe I want a better name than that, but like you obviously need to have scoping because otherwise it sort of defeats the whole point of having different exception types.
Okay, but when you say
don't know, there might be a collision.
What is this? What exception type is that sending?
So ABC is a exception type which I was registering here below in an example that I was going to
Okay,
start
so
with.
just a generic plain confirm
Mhm.
doesn't send an exception. Is that true? Get rid of all the second arguments.
What do you mean by
say,
plain confirm? You mean lexical confirm
I guess
with
that's
no
what I mean.
tag?
Yeah. So lexical confirm.
Yes, two argument.
Two argument will only work lexically, so it will be only like, okay, confirm.
Right.
Okay, so we're talking about
$fee.
3 argument confirm with a tag.
Yeah.
And you're saying
right.
if the tag is a known registered exception symbol name, then
Yeah.
it will do that.
Yeah. So if I do now enclose of this,
It'll
let's
just
say
be
F
yeah.
applied to this, then identity, because the enclose requires a function, and then ABC, it will catch it,
Right.
but it will also, to prove that it uses now our machinery, I can, for example, use the subtype here to throw and use the type to catch.
Yeah.
So you can
just to
see,
demonstrate though, right? If you write that somewhere else and you change the names, then it won't catch it.
yeah, let's do that. So let's say
Just get rid of
tag
the W.
other
Who
tag.
Sure.
You can see these are completely unrelated, so it doesn't
yeah,
catch.
so it doesn't catch it. Christopher, does this whole mechanism make sense to you for how it integrates with confirm?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's kind of the obvious simple way for it to integrate.
Okay, so like confirm quiet and all these kinds of things will just throw a heavyweight exception if their tag
Well,
is
quiet doesn't use
Confirm
exceptions.
quiet.
Oh,
Confirm
you can use
quiet.
quiet. Okay.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
correct.
all the
So-
confirm functions are exactly the same. I mean, every single one of them works with the same mechanism. They all use throw. I think it's a very simple thing that just if they're given a tag and the tag is a registered exception type, then they use throw exception instead of throw. I mean, that's pretty
okay. All right,
simple.
fine.
Yeah.
Let's move on here.
Okay, so the part where we register exceptions is the same as before. Now this is a simple function which in some cases throws exceptions, as you can see, depending on.
Okay, so hold on. Register exception type, ABC wrong value. The parent type is ABC in that case. The second argument is the parent type. Is that correct?
That's correct. Yes.
Is there any hierarchical thing that we have in entity stores that does or doesn't use the same mechanism?
Not that I'm aware of. I think entity store hierarchies are different, really. But I'm not a big expert on that part of
Can we make
entity.
sure that we know? Does anybody here know about that stuff? Can you guys please?
I thought entity stores that when you create, I thought the only way of making an entity store, you just give it this giant association, right? Like there's no way of appending to an entity store, is there? Maybe I'm wrong.
I think you're wrong.
No, you can. You can, Christopher. But the thing is that, I mean, okay, perhaps I should learn more about the hierarchies there, but I don't think they are really related.
Okay, Tony Chandler is a big expert on this stuff. Can you guys ask him, please? Just show him this. Just say, does this have any?
Yeah, I'll definitely talk to Tony.
To hierarchical entities or entity store hierarchies.
I'll definitely ask him.
Okay, fine. And so
okay,
okay, I understand. So that has registered that exception. Okay, great. Yep.
Now here's a function which throws exceptions in some cases. You can see either the argument, something is wrong with the argument,
which fine. Yeah.
But it also uses confirm match so that to make sure that the result is integer.
Yep.
Now under normal execution, it goes just fine. If an execution isn't normal, then there are unquote exceptions, which currently are represented in this way. So previously we used to throw failures. Now we throw exception objects, which is much less ambiguous, because normally exception objects can only appear at the top level because there are unquote exceptions. And there is also a message.
Okay.
So wait, so just to show, if you scroll down like a tiny bit, so just catch exceptions, make it not, okay, it converts it to a failure. Okay, I see.
Yeah. So with the catch exceptions, this is where we have rather significant changes from the previous design, which I'm going to demonstrate to you soon.
Also, by
so-
the way, just as a quick
Yeah.
point, presumably we could. I mean, one advantage of having this separate exception head is presumably that exception head could format in a much grander way.
Yes, and it
Like if
shows.
we had a stack trace or whatever, I don't know what we could actually have, but like if we
Yes.
had other side information, we could display it nicely.
Yes, sure. It's just for now, it's just the quickest possible
Okay,
way.
let-
It was
let's
just
Yeah,
let's
yeah.
put on the side, and we're going to come back to in this meeting the display of exception. But I like
Mhm.
the idea of a failure versus an exception, particularly if it's formatted differently. You know, a failure is just like, well, it went wrong. An exception is like there's some burning thing that's still trying to worm its way out.
yeah, and also it's not necessary even that exception will only be used for errors. They might be used if people just want to, have some shortcut in their control flow.
Yeah. Well, then is it right for it to convert to a failure?
No, but it's the generic, it's a generic handler that is being used if no specific handler is shown. And here is the spec that we suggest for catching exceptions now. It's different from what it was before. What we used to have were pattern matching against the full failure object. But now we are getting exception objects caught. And what we don't want is for functions to accidentally return inert exception objects normally. Because for failure, at least when you return a failure, it's clear, okay, something went wrong, this is an error. For exception to be returned, we would not like this ordinarily to happen. So what we suggest instead is that the handlers of functions which are passed and a SOC, which is exception data plus the information about the tag. So essentially, the
Okay, I'm
information.
totally lost.
Is-
Let's start from something very basic.
Okay.
Catch exceptions has a one argument form, I thought, that simply catches exception. Can you show me the generic use of catch exceptions? Does it normally have two arguments, the expression and okay, so that's an operator form. So it normally has, no, just write it out. Expr, tag. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct. But yeah, expr, tag. That's the
Okay.
simplest form.
Okay. Now,
Would it,
are
would
you
it ever
proposing?
actually?
Go ahead.
Well, I was gonna say, would it ever make sense to have? I mean, it breaks the next line you have, Leonid. But would it ever make sense to have catch exceptions of expr and it catches everything?
I think you should say all as the second argument or something.
Yeah. In fact, there is an all. So maybe, I don't know, maybe it might have, but no, Christopher, if we do it, we will disallow operator forms, right?
Obviously, we
I
realize.
understand that, right? I mean, I'm just trying to think of the trade-off of the. I mean, it might be though that we think like, right. My first guess, if I saw that there's this expert tag usage, would be that the one argument is not an operator form. It would be that it catches everything, like throw does or
Yes.
catch does. But it might be that we think that catching everything is just such a bad idea. You should
It is a
never
bad-
do it.
yeah.
You should
But-
never catch everything.
Fine.
Yeah.
And in fact, one argument catch doesn't catch everything.
Well,
Right.
okay, yes, that.
What do you
yes,
mean it
that's
doesn't
true.
catch everything?
It's
It
catch,
does-
comma,
it
only
underscore
catches
catches
tagless
everything.
exceptions.
Well,
argument catch.
except right, one argument catches tagless
Oh.
throws, and catch, comma underscore catches
any
all,
tagged, yeah.
all any tagged. So in fact, there's no form that catches all throws.
Right.
Right. But returning back to this, we think that the operator form is so useful and so convenient that just giving it up because we want a
Right,
shortcut.
but can you
for-
make it work?
Yeah,
with
I agree. with
right.
that,
Can you
yeah.
make it work with the evaluation semantics?
Well, he's faking it right now.
Yeah, you mean, can we avoid something like this and use holdable subvalues instead? Was that your question, Stephen?
Well, yes. What the hell is that?
Well,
It's just the trick because the function has a third argument where you can specify the attributes. So
yes.
you can use it to fake.
Is there any way we can
holding.
format this thing more nicely?
we
No.
might. Itai told us last time that it could be possible to start using holding subvalues at some point soon, in which case this will not be necessary.
Okay, fine. Okay, fine. So it's a hack for now, but
It's a hack, yeah.
Conceptually, semantically, it is a holding subvalue.
Yeah, exactly. And so the simplest form is exactly this, that what comes in here is a tag. And if this tag is, for example, a parent tag, then these catch exceptions will catch.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it doesn't tell you,
I
how
so
you
hate
handle it.
people putting two things on one line and getting two outputs. Why is that not two separate cells?
Well,
Why
I
do
tried
people
to
like
make
doing
things
that? Yeah, okay.
brief so that they are
Okay.
not
All right.
occupying too much space on the page.
I see. Okay. It's a paper preservation move. Okay. All right. So those are the cases where it is an uncaught. No, it is a generically caught exception, but it doesn't say what to do with it.
Yeah. Well, it actually says we decided, this is a design decision that we wanted to bring to you for your judgment, that we by default we convert the
I get it, to
exception
a failure object.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right. In a certain standardized way.
Why does it say exception tag there? That's a different kind of tagging than a failure object usually has. Why does it not say tag and then the tag is exception?
Yeah, it does.
Value?
If we look at the input form, you can see it uses the same tag as the exception tag, but inside the association, it also contains the property.
No, but I said something different. I was saying something different. I said this failure object, a normal failure object, just has a tag, right?
No, it has the first argument is the tag.
I see. So why isn't that first argument exception of ABC wrong value?
Well, first argument has to be, if we consider standard failure objects, first arguments usually are string tags, not expressions.
Well, okay, but why? I mean, why not have that be?
Wouldn't
it be more? Yeah.
I think that they don't even format right if you give it, or at least
we can add that. I've been adding formatting tricks to failure. I mean, if you want that ABC wrong value to be exception ABC wrong value,
I don't think
fine.
It's a huge problem, but doesn't that make more semantic sense?
But doesn't exception of ABC wrong value give a message about?
No, it does not.
No, it doesn't auto throw. It doesn't auto throw anymore.
Yeah, we went through a stage where we wanted it to kind of auto throw, but then we decided that it will be just
it's just inert, just evaluated.
Yeah,
but is that semantically the right thing? I mean, that's like an exception with a tag and no info, as opposed to a exception tag.
Yeah, I mean, we were thinking.
Can I ask, in this design, where are you actually handling exception? Are you writing them by hand, or what function are you turning exception to you?
Let's stick to this particular point for now, Ricardo, right? I mean, what is the first argument of this default error handler? What is this tag? We can decide, obviously. But usually tag is something which is atomic, which is something simple.
Why? I mean, okay, let's just walk through the whole thing. So the first point is, the idea is when you catch an exception, if you don't specify what to do with the exception, it simply transfers to a failure object.
Yeah.
Okay, that seems okay, I think, but let's look at what happens. So otherwise, it's essentially a replacement rule that says apply that function, correct?
Yeah, correct.
What does the function apply to?
Not really replacement. It's just a handler. It's a function. Yeah,
what is that applied to?
It is applied to the data that is contained in the exception object that we catch, enhanced with the information about what was the exception tag and exception tag expansion.
What is usually the second argument of failure? It's an association that contains random CRUD, right?
Yeah.
It has some defaults. It has some default. It has like a message template, and message parameters are pretty standard in the failures that we throw.
Yeah, which this doesn't have. So I think a much more consistent way to do this is to have the thing that is the converted exception be a failure, first argument, an exception object that has all of that data inside it. and then the second argument of the failure is the standard thing that a second argument of failure should be.
Wait, that makes no
No
sense at all for
sense.
several
Okay,
reasons.
okay.
Okay, so first of all, the first argument of failure is a tag. So having it be the entire exception, that's not a tag. That's just the entire exception, which should be in the second argument of the failure, in the association of random stuff. But then also, like, there's no message yet. The whole point is the exception doesn't necessarily have any message associated with it.
Exactly.
Like, what do you put as the message template and parameters?
Do we see what
Like, that's something that
typical
has to
failure-
happen when you make it a
Right.
failure.
Can we see what a
Use
typical
an
failure object looks
interpreter.
like?
An
Okay,
interpreter would be
generate a failure somehow.
Yeah.
Okay.
You can create a failure without any message and just put
No, no, no,
something.
not
into
typing
the
it in.
No, right.
Not Leonid, not
Yeah.
typing it in. I
Do
want
it-
a naturally
do
produced
it-
failure object.
Do like interpreter
Naturally
of
produced failure
integer of,
Okay,
Oh.
something like URL download of, I don't know, ABC.
Okay. Okay, there we go. Now give me the input form.
Yeah.
Input
That'll
form.
be
No.
long.
Oh, yeah. I'll just take it from here. Right.
or you could just use percent.
Input form.
What's percent? Okay.
Right.
Okay. So that's a tag.
This is a good example.
Okay, so
Note
it's got
the
a
tag
bunch
is
of
just a string.
custom gunk, basically.
Yes, that is the whole
No, it's just
design. That is the whole design of failure, right?
Yeah, that's
you
okay.
have the tag. There are a small number message template, message parameters that are handled specially and are sort of recommended. But beyond that, you can add whatever the heck you want.
Okay, so in
And also the message template stuff, those are just for display, right? They don't matter otherwise.
I mean,
there's some machinery to
maybe
want to
the
convert failure to
sub-value.
messages if you want.
They are
If
also
you
used
get
to
that,
issue the
then-
message, I think.
Okay.
okay, so I understand here. The thing you've said is ABC up there. That came from an exception tag, did it not? An exception type.
Yes.
The exception type is a symbol.
Yes.
Are you really seriously making the string form of the symbol to put it there?
No, it's just the symbol itself. We weren't sure what's the best
Okay,
thing
so
for the
failure
tag.
object then that you've said just has a quote simple tag that's usually a string
Yeah.
is now also allowed to be a symbol. Is that correct?
Either this or we decide what to do with the tag of this generated failure.
Just look.
I think symbol is good. I think symbol is symbol is fine for a tag. It needs
Okay,
a
you
tag
think
and
that's
it
okay for a
happens to
tag.
be
The
scoped
alternative
too.
would be that the tag is simply exception and the further information about the exception is contained in the association.
All right, but Simon, then you'll have duplication because exception itself contains that information in its second argument.
No, Steven is saying that the tag is
no,
a
no.
string
The tag is
exception
just
alone.
string.
Oh, you mean string exception or
Exactly.
Yeah, but then
No, no,
everything would
type it in,
look the
type it
same,
in.
right?
yeah.
Type it in.
Yeah.
Type it in.
I mean, I
Okay,
think
so
that's fine.
failure, and then
it's
a
just-
string that just says the word exception.
Okay.
Okay, and then
And then
in the
information.
association,
Yeah.
in the association, write the association quotes
Yeah.
exception, quotes exception. In the association, the key of the association is exception, arrow, and then an exception object, exception of blah blah blah.
Yeah.
Well,
Right. So I mean, the only reason why
I mean,
the only reason why I think this is kind of leaving things on the table is that right now I don't think we have a ton of machinery for processing failure objects, but like you could imagine that failure queue could have a second argument where you specify the tag, or you might want to do pattern matching against a failure object where you're pattern matching against the tag. And so if you just make the tag something meaningless like exception, it's fine, but it's
I
it's
worry
I
about
don't think-
better.
You've given an argument that failure has a very simple tag as its first argument. Okay, as soon as you've got symbols as the first argument, there's all kinds of weird stuff that could happen.
Like what?
Well, you
I
give
mean,
a symbol of
I-
value.
I have I have a different objection, at least assuming you mean this literally. What's the point of converting it to a failure if it's just all you do is adding some Chrome around the exception. I thought the point of converting it into having multiple keys is that, you know, you're extracting the most important information from the exception.
Right.
Which doesn't mean that we couldn't still have the exception in there if you want to further process it, although that seems a little duplicative. But
I think this is the default converter, though. You can make one that's more substantive, but this is just the default.
Yeah, and for default, the thing is, what we want to do, we want to absolutely avoid people accidentally even returning exceptions without, you know, like returning results with a head exception out of functions.
Right. No, I'm not objecting to converting it to failure. I'm converting it to having a single key, which is the whole exception.
Yeah. Another problem we had in tabular with failure objects with symbols is once it shows the context of the symbol, which was a disaster.
Right. Yeah. I think symbol name of would be a better would be a better tag than
well, which is the
string or the symbol itself.
Yeah, we can do that. So that was
I don't think we know what we should do here. Let's keep going and look at more of this design. I'm suspicious and concerned about this thing. Okay.
Right.
Let's keep
and
going.
This was a big question sign here anyway. So this was something that where we needed your opinion. First of all, Stephen, are you like
I think it's quite nice. I think I don't have an objection to that.
Okay, good.
Other people like it. I mean, I think it's kind of nice.
This is not just this is a convergent design of several people.
But the arguments given to that handler are what?
Well, it's an association where basically the payload is partly coming from exception tag and exception tag expansion, and partly it's coming from how it was thrown. Like if you look at here, this is where
but the actual exception object is not in there.
Actual exception object is not in there. We could put it.
I suggested that the main advantage I think is that this way you can use a function with hash name and have a direct access. I mean, the overall thing.
No, I'm not saying that there should. Again, I'm not saying that there shouldn't be additional fields. I'm all for additional fields. I'm just thinking that. I mean, I don't know who, but you know, I could imagine that somebody would want access to the actual object and do something specific with right. Especially if we start sticking a lot of information in there, like the whole stack. I'm not sure we want the stack as just another argument, but you might still want that in
the currently, I'm not sure whether it's right or not, but currently you can easily construct back an exception from this data. So
you're saying you're saying this is the sum total of information in the exception.
Yeah, exactly. It's not there is no information loss.
Okay.
I mean, it does seem like there might be a slight why not to having an exception field, but I don't know.
Yeah, it would just get in the way of pattern matching and processing, and I think this has all the information we care about. Right?
Yeah, the real reason for this design is that, like Julia said, and like Roman is saying now, we could have then we could apply functions like capital function.
No, I get that. But I'm just saying, like the all I was saying is that you could, without changing any of that, add another entry in the association just called exception. Which then points to the exception, but it might be kind of pointless if you can just.
We can. It will just be sort of It will be duplicate information partly, but we can.
And also, you are not supposed to use that object itself, right? I mean, you don't return it.
Yeah, this is another reason why.
Inert, yes.
Yeah, okay, we basically the mental model we try to convey here is that once you catch an exception, ordinarily it completely disappears as an exception object unless for some specific reason you want to reconstruct that. So instead you just use the data that's contained in there. So in any case, to recap.
But Leonid, I wanted to ask you one thing before. is the exception something that you write by hand as a user? Like I can write a failure object and return it, or the exception is something that is handled by the framework?
You can write it by hand if you wish, but typically you write throw exception, which constructs it for you. So throw exception.
And when I'm actually handling an exception object, when is the system asking me as a user to deal with an exception?
When you catch an exception object is basically your handlers, right? Their handlers. In this case, this ABC handler is passed the information that was contained in the exception.
So wait. In this case, I'm getting past the data, not the exception object. So when I'm actually dealing with an exception object, is the exception something that we display only, basically when there is an uncode exception?
Yes, but you could also, if you wish to, you can manually construct exception object and, for example, throw it. You can, but in the handling of an exception object disappears. You can reconstruct it if you have a need for it.
Right.
Okay.
Although it'll write. I mean, I'm just thinking this will be a funny sort of rough page. Exception represents exception. You should never see this except when a programmer fails to catch an exception.
No, there is another case when you want to see that. If you want to somehow automatically construct exception objects to use and throw exceptions, and you want to automate something, you can write a function that returns an exception object.
So just so I understand, throw exception can either just throw a tag, or it can throw an exception, a complete exception symbolic object. Is that true?
Yeah,
it
that's
always
absolutely
throws
true.
the symbolic object. Wait.
Right.
It
always ultimately packages it as a symbolic object, but you can explicitly write the symbolic object as the argument of throw exception if you want to.
Yes. So if you do exception,
we get it.
Okay.
Maybe let's go down to where you actually show how you throw exception works.
Right. So basically, in more advanced cases, you can have more than one handler depending on which tag you want to catch.
I get it. Right, that's nice. And can it pattern match?
We decided to not use pattern matching. And the reason for that is that basically the only, either you pattern match on the entire exception object, but we decided against it. That was how it was working previously.
Okay.
Because we wanted exception object to not really appear much. And what we pass to handlers is anyway on the same information. Because when you pattern match against the exception object, there is always a danger that no rule matches and then you return back an exception.
I got it. Okay, so fine. And the association that is sent to the handlers, we don't have to have a a handler functions option, because it's always we always know we're passing the same things to the handler. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
And those things are value, exception tag, the things you've listed there.
Yeah, so basically value is something that is a random thing. Value is something that was defined, sorry for the scrolling, just wanted to show value is something that was defined in this function.
Okay, but wait a minute, wait a second. If I define foo in that function, would that get passed as something to be passed to the exception
to the handler? Yes.
Okay, so in fact I was not correct in saying that list is standardized. That list is not standardized.
It's a join of a standardized list and whatever the heck you put in when you
fine. But the standardized list contains exception tag and exception tag expansion. Is that correct?
Absolutely, yes.
What does exception tag expansion means? The parent exceptions. Is that correct?
Yes, including the tag itself.
Actually, it could be longer. It could be longer than 2. It could be like 3, 4, 10.
Yeah.
Depending on.
It could be a whole hierarchy of stuff.
Yeah.
If there's multiple inheritance, could it be like a list of lists? Or
well, the question is this: what do we use it for? Typically, we use it for catching, and for that we only need a flat list. If
you don't need to know where it came from, you don't need to know why you're descended from why you're a vertebrate. You just need to know that you are a vertebrate.
Exactly, and we consider that a feature because it makes things completely stateless and totally separate. Like you form an exception when you throw it, and when you catch it, you don't have to know anything about the hierarchies. You just catch it.
Do we like the name exception tag expansion? It seems a little weird. Is that a standard name in object-oriented languages?
No, because they don't have the notion of exception expansion.
No, I understand.
Well, do we
that.
have a term in tree in like any of the tree functions, like ancestor or something like that?
Right, yeah, I was going to say, right, especially I was going to say is, so basically you're saying in the case of multiple inheritance, it's a flat list of tag plus all of its ancestors, however you get to there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's the vertex in component.
Right.
Yes.
But what have we
Exception
named that elsewhere?
ancestors.
Okay, question. In multiple inheritance, in object-oriented languages, what do they call this list?
There is the there is only the, as far as I know about the list, there is a name for this algorithm that gets you parents in certain order.
Which is what? What is that name?
I forgot. Sorry. I know there is a name.
Sorry, I didn't mean to make fun of you. I just
okay, but so nobody here knows. I don't know a name for that operation, for that construct either. So I just wondered if there was a standard name. I just didn't know it. There probably isn't a standard name. Okay. So
exception tag parents.
Say it again.
Exception tag parents.
No, that doesn't work because it includes the tag itself.
Oh, okay.
We may exclude the tag, of course.
I don't think that's a good idea. I think that's a mistake.
You should keep
it's much more useful to have the whole thing.
Yeah.
I mean, I was thinking of full or something like that, but I think
the exception tag with parents, or
that's too long.
Exception inheritance tree. Well, it's not a tree, so that's
no, it's not. It's not a tree.
Why not just exception tag ancestors?
Because it includes the thing itself. You are not an ancestor.
But like that's. I feel like that's.
I think
you might be an ancestor of yourself.
What's that?
You're a zeroth order ancestor of yourself.
Right.
I think that's super confusing. I mean, better would be exception tag list. Exception tag and exception tag list.
Yes, that's a possibility. It doesn't contradict anything, at least.
I think that's better than exception tag expansion, because I just don't know in what way you're expanding the things.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, we'll change that.
A random silly question. What happens if you throw exception and one of the keys you use is called exception tag? Like if there's a collision.
Yeah, that's a good question. So
about that, the system symbol, only we are allowed to use that, right?
It's not a symbol. Exception tag isn't a symbol. It's a key.
Yeah.
I
was suggesting to document explicitly that you overwrite it. Like, don't use it. That's just you can use it, but then you lose it.
We will overwrite it, basically.
Exactly.
Yeah. I mean, the one other option I think would be if it could return an error at throw exception time, but I think you want to avoid that.
Why the user cannot use it? I mean, if he's explicit,
because you don't want it to.
Why do you care?
Security, code security issue. If you can start overwriting, if you can start monkeying with the exception system, you're going to be able to escape from code that you didn't think you could escape from.
I think as long as we're very clear in the documentation page, I mean, it's a very specific name that means a very specific thing. Like,
right, so we just overwrite it.
I'm
pretty sure. I can't immediately see it, but I predict that there is a computer security hack that's based on. It's like SQL injection or something. You shouldn't be able to do stuff like this.
Right. So the only reason why that's could potentially be a problem at some point is just, I guess there's no avoiding this though, is if we ever want to add another key, then we have to be very careful about it.
I see what you're saying, because that key would also overwrite.
Yeah.
Well, then we should probably brainstorm what other keys we might want and at least put those in as things which will cause an error immediately.
Well, no, but hold on. We were saying, because we were saying it doesn't cause an error, it just silently overwrites.
No, I know it overwrites, but I mean, we could overwrite now and just as a...
There is another option which you might not like, but it at least will probably work, is for all these keys to make them system symbols.
No. No.
At least that's, I mean, I understand. It's just that options in the past were named
But-
system
but-
symbols for the same reason.
But
to
then
not
you
collide.
couldn't use them with slot in function.
exactly.
If there's
Yeah.
Actually,
Yeah.
although at that point, actually, okay, I mean, okay, as an alternative to the system symbol thing, what you could do is just have it, you pass 2 arguments to the handler. It's just 2 associations. The first one is the one from throw exception. The second one is all of the system defined stuff. And you can use hash name for the first association, and you have to do hash 2 of such and such for the second.
That was Ricardo's
so-
suggestion, but somehow
Let's not worry about it. This is very unlikely to be a problem. In the case where we added another system thing, at throw exception time, we can generate a message if you overwrite it.
indeed.
But then it keeps going. Like it throws a message and then it throws the exception, overwriting it as usual.
Probably, yes. But I mean, I think we can cross that bridge if we need to introduce one of these things.
Well, okay. I think it already has to do that behavior anyway right now. Like, you can
one
already
thing-
create a collision right now.
Yeah, but I mean,
Right, so
one-
if you
But
throw, okay,
Leonid,
look,
can you write down the code that basically will put you in trouble?
no,
Because
we
I
don't
still
have very much
understand
time.
it.
We have only 5 minutes, so let's cut this short. Okay, look, let's agree that if you do a throw exception that contains an exception tag as part of its payload, that it will generate a message.
yes.
And then continue on its merry way.
Mm-hmm.
And we could also document for the future that people probably shouldn't start their names with exception something. For example.
Well,
Okay,
I don't think
fine.
that's
Okay, let's
actionable
go- let's
documentation.
continue,
but
please.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, so basically, in the case when you have several
How much
tags,
more do we have to go over? Do we have significantly more to go over?
for the basics, no, it's mostly it. The
Maybe
other
let's show the throwing because you haven't never shown
yeah,
that.
okay. So, Steven, several handlers is probably
I got
these-
it. I understood how several handles work.
one
It's
thing
fine.
is because we don't have pattern matching anymore.
Oh,
What
Christ. No.
what if
No. That's a
But-
total mess.
okay, then this is at least something that where pattern matching had this feature and we no longer have it.
Okay,
can-
but
can-
so what
Why not
goes
just have an
wrong
if
here?
statement in
What's
your?
that?
In
Yeah,
your,
why isn't there an
why
if
not have
statement in
an-
the handler?
Yeah.
The thing is that if it's inside the handler, then the handler is applied anyway. And if exception, if you decide that exception should not be caught by this handler, then it's not passed to the next handlers. It will just
My suggestion to this was that you rethrow and you simply don't use a list. I mean, this advanced usage you use advanced syntax. You cache twice. I mean, if you are
you can.
expecting to rethrow, you just recache.
you can. Okay, fine. These are details
So
that are less important.
Yeah, I really think it's no, we can do a second round on details, but
I mean, you
this
could
is
have
really advanced
slash semi
usage.
on the left-hand side, but that's pretty hacky.
Super hacky. But I mean, honestly, what's wrong with catching exception twice? I mean, you are rethrowing. I mean, this like practically speaking, you are.
No,
you are
it's not.
rethrowing
It's not about. It's not about that, Julie. It's about the thing that if you want conditional handling, that condition is not only on the tag itself, but also on something that you get.
Right.
Yeah,
You
no, I
could
understand.
rethrow
I mean,
it in the
if
handler.
exactly in the handler, you
So
rethrow it,
basically
and then
you're
you
saying
put
there
another
would be-
handler outside.
Yeah, the problem is if you rethrow inside the handler, it will not ordinarily go to the next handlers. It will just go outside catch exceptions.
No, yeah,
You
but
go
put
to the
another
next
catch.
handler.
Put another
So he's saying
catch
don't
exception.
don't have a list there. Have 2 catch exceptions is what he's saying.
Yeah,
Exactly.
we can.
We
We
have
can,
the
we
operator
can.
form. It's nice. You could even fold it, whatever.
Sure,
Yeah.
sure, we can do that. So this is less of an issue.
Right. So just make sure you document that you can do catch exception, catch exception,
Sure.
right? Because that's what you need for this.
Yes. Okay. Fine. So let me just show you fairly quickly the examples of throw exception just for completeness. So essentially, you can. It's pretty basic stuff. So you just
What
throw.
happens if I say throw exception with a string as the first argument? That will
Yeah.
work, right?
Yeah, it works.
Okay.
It's
So
just-
then the protocol is that the tag in the exception object becomes the symbol name of that symbol. Is that right? Or is it still a symbol?
If it's a string, then it's a string. If it's a symbol.
I know. Okay, so in the exception object, it's still a symbol. If it gets converted to a failure object, it gets stringified. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, fine.
So yeah, I mean, one more tricky case is what if you are throwing a failure here? What we are currently doing is that we are wrapping this failure in a special field which we named caused by, because we somehow, it's one of the cases which is frequent in practice. Someone wants to throw a failure but with certain tag, and we think it's a good thing to have a standard.
What's wrong with it? I don't understand. No exception, that's the payload of the exception, right?
Yes, there is nothing wrong with this, but apart from, we could just write a longer form like this, caused by.
Why are we doing caused by? Why isn't it just value?
Could be value. The question is how to name this field, but it will.
But I thought we already had a value field.
Yeah, I mean,
Right.
No,
The question-
that was custom by Leonid. Wasn't any specific meaning.
the value field is not very good because it's very generic, but it's a possibility, obviously.
We could just call it
the
failure.
question is, why do we
literal.
need this to be custom?
It doesn't have to be just a common, it's a common use case for which it would be good to have a shortcut.
Basic point is, Leonid wants to avoid having to give an association for the case where the second argument is failure. So the question then is then, what is the tag name in the standardized association? And
maybe
Okay,
failure.
Well, does it have to be a failure? Can you just say two?
Right? So if the second argument, do throw exception of ABC comma 2, what do you get?
Yeah.
If I do this, not sure I'll get anything good, because we are,
what I mean,
yeah, it's a mess. Maybe we should allow throw exception to send anything, but then we should wrap it in something. So
Well,
what should be the name of this
couldn't it
payload?
just be, I mean, it could be value. I mean, I don't know.
Should it be
Right,
exception value?
It could just be an association
so
that
then
says
what was the
value.
value field that we saw before?
Was custom.
It was custom. It
custom.
was just by a function that was defining it. It's
I see.
Yeah,
So-
but then the problem is if that anything happens to be a symbol, it becomes a tag, right? So if I do throw exception of automatic now, what it is?
No, you're
Yeah.
mixing the first and the second argument.
no.
This is the second argument. This is the payload.
Yeah.
We should.
So the point, the
okay,
payload,
fine.
the payload that, as we've seen it before, is always an association because we know it's
Yeah.
going to get joined with that other thing and so
I
on.
see.
So the point is just if it's not an association, what do we do? And I
Yeah.
think the simplest thing is just wrap it in an association with the key value or something like that.
or a key like exception payload.
That I
Yeah,
like a lot
sure.
better than value, because value is something that users will use all over.
Right. Although this can't collide in the same way that the things we saw before can, right? Like how can the only thing this
Yeah,
can
because they
collide
can't give.
with
This is their association.
Yeah, it's an association with one
It
key.
can collide.
Basically, no, with what? You don't have anything else. This is literally the payload. You are building the payload right now.
Oh, you mean there will be nothing else, so it will never collide.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And again, like just to be clear, this is all like about making it as frictionless as possible. This is all conveniences. Yeah. Like just
Okay,
for
so which
shortcuts.
one should we
I think
use?
exception
Okay.
payload is a reasonable idea because I think it's
Yeah.
a special case thing.
Yeah.
I think that you might have something picking up values because you set your whole system up with values.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it
Okay.
starts with an exception, so we are making
But
like
yeah.
pattern
wait,
here.
basically you will get an association now with exception payload, exception tag, and exception.
No,
values,
you get
right?
exception payload is. Oh yeah, sorry, you're right.
Yeah.
Yes.
Failure
Right.
Exception.
When you catch it, you see all those.
Yeah,
When you
when,
catch
when
it,
you
yeah.
catch it, yes.
But the
yes.
exception itself only has the exception payload arrow 2 in it.
Right.
Then maybe it can be just
Yes.
exception.
No.
No, but exception should be a full object. We don't want that. We want a
Yeah.
payload.
It has a different meaning. We don't want to mix it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Can you scroll on, please?
Okay.
Yeah. one other thing is, currently when we misuse exception, like for example, this is not a legal arguments. We just throw exceptions which are internal to the system. It would probably be good to throw some public tags exception based on public tags. So we might.
Okay. This raises the question of what are the names of the tags. So we went through this before, standardizing the names of the tags. What do you have on that?
Before, what we were doing was we were basically listing a bunch of different possible generic errors.
This is exactly what we need. And this one would be, it could even be an exception.
Or error handling exception, maybe.
That'd be fine.
And the question is, should they be
capital H?
Oh yeah, sorry. I was actually making it capital, not sure why it didn't go through. So should they all be symbols that we document?
You've been arguing for symbols. I hate it, but you've been arguing for symbols. So then the answer is yes.
All right.
Honestly, Stephen, I think we can be very conservative here. Like as Christopher was saying, most people they will write a symbol in their package which will automatically be localized to their own context. So this is, and in every language, this stuff here is like suggestive. Yeah, I mean, you can have an input-output error and make it a subtype of a, I don't know, runtime error. So it is more about how well behaved is the developer. So if you are uneasy with that, it's perfectly fine to document a couple of exception types to start with. And if you see how the system is being used, we can add more.
What we've talked about before is having exceptions which are usually I'm keen to have this kind of verbose mode where there are they're not really exceptions. They're messages being generated. Okay. There are many functions which do flaky things when you give them weird stuff. Okay. But they often silently do those things. Like for example, very typical example, something like square root of 3 will just stay as square root of 3. Square root of 4 will evaluate to 2. You might want to generate something when you see square root of 3. That might be, I wasn't meaning to do that. I wanted to get an integer.
That's something though that I think that's a bit different because that's about
doing something flaky, right?
Well, I think that the issue is that there's you're thinking of like on and off. Like that's something where the point is like the outside of the function, you're going to decide whether or not this was a fatal error, right? But in this system here, there's no deciding post hoc whether something was exception worthy. Like if you throw an exception, it's going to catastrophically shoot itself out into the world.
Right.
In a sense, this is the opposite of a verbose mode because it
dies
immediately.
Yeah.
It's not the side effect.
So what good are all of these names, which I don't like at all? What good are all these names doing us other than for inheritance?
Only inheritance.
Yeah.
Well, only inheritance, and if we
strictly speaking, you need one symbol. Yeah. And everything, everything else could be custom for each user could have their own hierarchy starting from there. Like basic exception. Do you need anything more? I mean, let me know if I'm wrong, Leonid.
No, I think you're right, because the thing is, we can't ordinarily start throwing exceptions which are generic, which are not scoped to your package or things like that, because then you never know whether you're catching something yours or from someone else.
Okay, but I understand. We've now got this exception object, which is a symbolic exception object. Why doesn't it just have string tags inside it? And you want something symbolic? Use the symbolic exception object. Now, you have this argument that you want to do register exception type, and you want to be able to scope the thing that is inside the register exception type, right? That's your argument.
Yeah.
Okay. So it's not a crazy argument, but why not let register exception type, if you want to scope it, be able to take a symbol or a string but that the system ones are strings.
Oh, we can. The only possible concern here is that when we register strings, we don't have the protection that symbols give when symbols are in certain contexts because they're unique by just construction because of the context.
Well, we could.
They're not unique.
But
You could
wait,
7
wait,
to
wait,
17
wait.
if you wanted to.
Right. Well, I mean, if we want to have the protection plus, right, we could make it so that only the system ones can be strings
Yes.
and all user ones are symbols, and
Ooh.
then they're automatically scoped.
So wait, so as in there's a list of special approved strings.
I wouldn't
And
bother.
then
I don't.
I mean,
see
I think no, but like here's what's going to happen though. Like here's realistically the problem with strings is, you know, throw and catch. If you look at usages of throw and catch in the wild, if they use a tag, a huge fraction of the time the tag is a string. And I think and almost always this is wrong because it's like you're in some package and the whole point is you're throwing some tag that's unique to your package. You should obviously just use a symbol that's scoped to your package so that there can't be collisions. But people
Exactly.
use strings because they don't entirely realize that you could put a symbol there. So I think if all the system ones are strings, then this will make it even less obvious that, you know, you 99% of the time want to scope
compatibility
symbol.
will be better, right? Because we have a lot of interpreter stuff that is already a string. And if those become system exception, that basically we don't, this is somehow consistent with failure then.
But there isn't backward compatibility in this sense, Ricardo, because if you are moving to this new system, you can't just take
Right,
your
but we
old
could
code
have
directly.
names
Right.
that are consistent with what we already have in failure. So for example, if we happen to have, I don't know, a connection failure in failure object, makes sense to have a connection failure here, I guess, as a tag.
Well,
Yeah, I mean, I think the main thing though is just that, okay, the first thing is just to like failure. I think, okay, this is still consistent with failure because I think the point is like with failure, you don't care about collisions in the same way because like whatever your failure handling code is probably not going to handle all possible failures. It's only designed to handle, you know, the failures you expect to see. So that, I mean, that's one thing. I mean, I guess, yeah.
I mean, yeah,
I
the
guess,
cool point is failure tags are not used for throwings,
right.
for throwing failures. Well, here you do use it. So yeah.
That doesn't really answer Ricardo's concern, but yeah.
Well, there is something we have which I didn't discuss yet, which is this error translation layer, which will probably answer Ricardo's concerns. But we are.
What is the idea of it? Quickly.
Okay. The idea of it is this. Let me quickly show you. You define some error exception types, and then you implement some function which has a private implementation which can throw these types, but you want to translate that into publicly faced errors. And then you define some sort of declarative spec that tells you how do you translate exceptions that are thrown with the specific tags to failure objects which contain certain messages, certain message parameters, and other ingredients.
What actually causes the message to be emitted? I mean, the fact there's a failure object running around that has a message name in it does not cause that message to be emitted, does it?
It doesn't, because it uses rule delayed in the appropriate association.
I'm sorry.
No, but as your point, Stephen, no. A failure object will never emit a message. That's a side effect that you control.
I know.
Yeah.
That's my point. My point is that if an exception got generated, it is a thing is waving its flag saying I'm an exception, but that never, in this translation layer, it's all well and good to translate it into a failure object, but that still doesn't generate a message.
No, but this is manually generated. You're manually saying that, in your handler function. This is saying, while I catch and yeah.
And then basically, once you do this translation layer, this shows that this function in various events when it just goes wrong.
Okay. So let's just understand. You generate an exception and something at when the exception is caught, or what?
Yeah. Look at here. It's error function of my import. This generates this translation function. So this becomes a handler to this
as a pre-handler of some kind.
Yeah, it's right. It's a handler of exception.
No, wait, Stephen. It's not a pre-handler. It's the handler. We are just giving like conveniences to write handlers Now, given that, a typical handling would be to catch the exception and convert it to an error message plus a
And
failure.
that's it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
And
the point is like, sorry,
hold
just one quick thing. You are a system developer, yeah? You are writing your own stuff, you are throwing exceptions, or even a package developer. Now, the standard thing is at the end, you go to your API function, your external interface, and all those external interface functions, they will catch their exceptions and will be well behaved. So we will give you an error message and a failure object. So be the very typical scenario.
Something went wrong inside.
I mean, it depends. Can say, file doesn't exist.
No, I understand that. But for some reason, you want to be able to generate internal messages that you want to kind of sanitize for the outside world. Is that the idea?
Yeah, not necessarily internal.
I mean, why internal?
This can be a
that's
system.
a package message.
Yeah.
There could be a system message.
Yeah.
I mean, I would use it. I mean, this is how Tabular handled messages. Yeah.
Right, but the point is that there's an internal message.
There's no internal message. There's an internal exception.
There's an internal exception. And the issue is you don't actually want to generate a message at that point, because that might be the person might be trying to arrange a graphics grid, and somewhere inside it's calling some combinatorial optimization function. And you don't want the combinatorial optimization message to come out when you're dealing with a graphics grid. Is that the idea?
Yes, but still, that's much.
No, that's not at all the idea.
It's a deeper reason.
You're right. You are doing your own processing. You've encountered an unrecoverable error, or possibly a recoverable error even.
Okay.
And you bail from that flow control to a higher level, which decides, oh, can I try the next method, or do I have to die? And at some point, you die completely. But you still need to have some idea of what went wrong to report to the user.
Yeah, and I think one of the key things that Itai said, Stephen, is that when you throw an exception, you are typically not in a position to decide what to do with it. That is something that a much higher level handler should do, and therefore issuing a message at that point is probably wrong, because you don't know who and for what will be using that exception.
I know. Yes, that's what I was saying.
Yeah. Okay.
But but badly.
Well, okay. I mean, no, but I thought that was the point that I was making. That what you primarily want to do is you have internal messages, but you want to have sanitized messages that are actually generated. Internal exceptions that produce sanitized messages. Is that right?
Internal exceptions which may or may not produce messages.
No, I understand that. You can decide if you want them to produce a message. It could be that it tried
a
combinatorial
I would say, just
failed.
a little addition will make it correct. I think at the boundary of your package, and again, this is completely a language design question, and this is for us to decide. I mean, so far we've always been, adamant that system functions do not throw; they return. Yeah, like the point of exception is like, I'm done here, I'm out. Yeah. So so far what we're saying is like, if you write good Wolfram language code, at the boundary of your package, there are no exceptions. There are only errors and failures, or good results. Yeah. So basically, this whole system is based on this design principle. If we are happy of throwing exceptions at one point, we can change the design. But unless we want to change the design, we need the kind of helpers to ease people into, at the end, catching all their exceptions and making sure that they return proper things.
Right.
But
so
inside your own code base, it's a free for all. Yeah. I mean, you could catch exceptions at much lower level, and you don't need any message.
Are any system functions going to generate exceptions?
We have very few right now, and that's an important design decision.
Hold on. Let me make a suggestion. If I want my URL read, if it doesn't find the right URL to generate an exception, what is the simplest code that does that?
It checks if there's a failure object after the URL read.
What's the simplest code that does it?
It could be confirmed
with the tag.
Yeah. Or
Even the system confirmed.
Can you write the code that does it?
Yeah. URL, let's say download.
Just the URL read. Doesn't matter. I don't care. That's not the point. That's going to generate, okay?
Well, URL read, yeah. Depends on what you put into it. URL read often fails by returning valid.
Okay, now what does it do?
Yeah.
Okay, how do you generate an exception? How do you generate an exception?
Well,
you have to
technically
define a
speaking, this
type.
is an exception, yeah, already.
What?
Well, no,
Right,
that's
you
like
need
that'll
an
be the lexical
exclude.
one.
Yeah,
So
but
you need to
even
put-
this conceptually
Just
an
put
exception.
comma null or whatever, comma ABC.
Yeah, this is one way.
Yeah, that will throw an exception.
Right.
Where's the exception? I don't see any exception.
Well, it was it propagated to top level.
I actually don't know what happened. No, because that's
No, it's
returning a
because it's
failure, but that should
confirmed.
return an
It is an exception, but because we are using confirm, if you use now catch exceptions of ABC,
Yeah, but you don't want to catch it. Yeah,
right?
that's the point.
But my point. Okay, but
But-
my
but
point.
wait,
is-
Right, but
why-
we decided that confirm without explicit exception, right? You know, that confirm still behaves the way it does.
Exactly.
Yes.
This
Right,
is
but
why.
so,
it's doing
so
that.
I just want to
Oh.
reiterate, what you are going to want in lots of places in the code is on a hair trigger, if something goes wrong, this is my point about on and off and so on. And, you know, if something goes wrong inside here, rather than URL read just sort of, you know, shouting out into the forest with nobody to hear that it had a failure, we need that to actually generate an exception that causes it to propagate out.
Well,
How do we do that?
that's what happened here.
I know it's what happened here, but it was not exactly the most beautiful way to make that happen.
There is one counter argument against such
mean,
behavior, Steven, which is that other functions which use this URL read or whatever in code, they don't expect exceptions. And
I know. You've got to be able to do both things. Let me make an analogy.
But Steven, we have confirm quiet, right? It does exactly this, right? The moment URL read would issue a message, it would be, oops, I'm going to throw an exception.
Right, but how does it tie itself into the exception system? That's what I'm asking.
By putting a tag, and the tag is a registered exception type.
Okay, fine. Fine, but it will be nice if URL read has an obvious registered exception type that it knows. What's the way of converting this? I mean, maybe...
I mean, like, you mean having an option? I mean...
Oh, that would be one possibility, but I was thinking instead that a better thing would be a function that you can wrap around URL read that essentially does exactly what this confirm does, except that it automatically generates some already known exception type.
Isn't that exactly you? But how does it? I'm so confused. How is the point supposed to be that it looks at the failure that was generated, and then it looks at the failure tag and uses that to decide what exception type to throw?
Yeah, I'm going to say, let's say it's exceptionize. Let's call it let's type it in, please. Exceptionize.
I'm very skeptical of this.
Well,
Yes.
okay. Of URL read. URL read. And that's it, right? And what it will do is if URL read generates an error, no, not obviously with arguments to URL read. Put the arguments in, please, to URL read.
You want
Basically,
this to be
representation
head
will be
dress,
if-
URL read of bracket with some string. Put
Yes.
some.
Well, it could be a headdress,
It
but
could
which
be a
actually
headdress,
the,
but I don't
That's
the
why I
name
asked.
exceptionalize sounds
I
more
don't
like a
think it
headdress.
should be a
But yeah.
headdress.
But
don't
yeah.
think
But this form doesn't tell me what the exception is. It's
I
from,
know.
right? I mean,
I know that, Roman.
so I have to
Listen
look
me.
it up.
Right, no, the idea
No,
is the
listen
idea is
to
it's
me.
going to read the failure object that gets returned. It's going to interpret it. It's going to say, I know what this failure object. It looks like it came from URL read.
No,
and then it's going
not
to
specifically URL read. The whole point is you've
No,
given a
of course.
bunch of an ontology, a taxonomy of failure of error types, right? Scroll down to your taxonomy of error types. Right? That's a limited number of error types. Functions like URL read can have, that's a connectivity exception. Okay? Much more convenient to have that one exceptionized thing that automatically for every function, whether it's a 1/0, it's a whatever, whether it's a different kind of thing, memory constraint exception. You don't have to then think about naming the exception, looking up the name of the exception. You should never have to do that. If we have a taxonomy of exceptions, we should automatically generate the correctly named exception. That's what I'm saying.
How is it deciding which exception thing to use?
I don't know. That
It
I
would
don't
be
know.
the first argument of failure, probably.
Right,
maybe in
but,
the first-
but 1 over 0
Right, that's what I
doesn't
was
generate a
saying.
failure.
Yeah,
But it
that's
also-
right. So it's a little bit more subtle, and that's why I keep on saying I think we are going to have to instrument the code with more things, and that's life. That's the way that's okay. So in other words, if we say exceptionize of 1 over 0, that will conveniently, if you generate 1 over 0, or conceptualize 1 over x, let's say, if that's 1 over 0, then it will generate an exception. That will be some kind of I don't know, numeric exception or some such other thing. Am I making sense?
But it shouldn't work for something. I mean, I think the implementation of this thing should literally be if failure Q.
No,
then
I don't agree.
throw.
No, it's going to
How
require
do you recognize
actually.
complex infinity from an actual error, like the user wrote infinity or something?
I'll tell you, Ricardo, that function 1 over 0 will generate something internally. Yes, this is not trivial to implement, right? This is something where the system that goes and generates that message, the power, whatever it is message, whatever generates that will also set up some internal flag that says, if this thing has been exceptionized, this is the exception it generates.
Yeah, that's, well, that as a practical matter, that can't be done with this exception implementation.
I understand.
Yeah,
I understand.
but
I'm saying I understand this. I'm
Yes,
saying
okay,
this is what
and
should
I
work.
understand and we understand what you're saying, but I'm saying, this is not possible with this implementation.
It's not possible
of the-
today, right? I'm trying to design something. To me, this is what makes sense. That you want to be able to make
yeah,
code.
right? But you're the only one to whom this makes sense, right?
Okay, but I'm assuming that the main use of this is we have a critical piece of code. If anything goes wrong, blow out of there. That's what we've been discussing for a long time. The case where you don't just want to soldier on if something went wrong,
Right.
you want to just blow out immediately.
And I don't, and we have confirm and close for that. I don't know why you're trying to re-implement confirm and enclose.
Well, but you've told me that you
It's
really care
automated.
about having this ontology of tags. Maybe that's bullshit. Maybe that this ontology of tags, which I think is going to be difficult to deal with and fraught with issues, and certainly they should not be symbols and cannot be symbols. I think this thing is.
Look, let's just do this. Let's do this. For now, the ontology of tags, it sounds like we don't even have cases in the system where we would define, okay, right now we have no place in the system where we're going to run throw exception, comma algorithm exception. Because we don't have any symbols that are going to publicly be throwing exceptions, to the user. So maybe the thing is just we can keep this list. For now, there's just a single one that's fatal exception or whatever the most generic, the thing that everything else inherits from, if we want to have such a thing. And then later we can decide if we have some case, like if we add exceptionalize, then we can add these other named tags. But for now, we have literally no use for them.
Right, but the root exception, just to be clear, if we put in a root exception, if we even have a root exception, then every exception tag list is going to contain root exception, which I don't think is right.
And certainly it currently doesn't. So I don't think we need these name types at the moment.
But should also
I may be in the minority here, but
I don't think we need them. I think unless we have a mechanism like exceptionalize, I don't think we need them.
Yes, I agree with that.
All right, then this is not a 15.0 issue, maybe.
It is not.
But down the line, this list may be needed.
Right.
For now,
and I think at the very beginning, Leonid even told us that these are not necessarily for 15.
No, I understand. Okay, are we done with everything we need for this version right now?
Yes. Oh, well, there is one more thing, last thing, Stephen. Quickly. There is a pathology in with cleanup. When you throw in both the cleanup code and main code, it actually throws not one but two exceptions. And what we would like to do. Yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
What's wrong with that?
It's not literally wrong, but it means that you can't catch such a thing with a single catch clause. You need to have two.
Okay.
And what we'd like
I mean,
to do,
a throw should be final, right? I mean, there's nothing after the throw, so this is really
Wait,
bad.
wait.
Well, no.
But those are the first argument is by design uninterruptible, right? So
yes,
And
I'm not
the
saying
third
that.
argument
I'm not
always
saying with
runs,
cleanup is
no
and the
matter
wrong.
third
what.
argument and the right, yes.
I'm not
Yeah,
saying
but
it's
Roman
wrong.
is wrong. No.
No,
Well,
my
Roman
point.
seemed to be claiming that this was wrong, and I'm claiming this is not wrong.
I don't think Roman
Yeah.
claims that this was wrong. I think what we really would like to do is to have a convenience that in such cases, handle exceptions will only be needed one clause rather than
I
two.
mean, catch
Catch
exception.
Sorry, catch. Yeah. I'm just using the old name.
Okay.
My point is, it would be good if in this case we could just have catch exception with expert, comma, spec like handlers, comma, cleanup. The third argument, where essentially if both throw, we will have only one exception that has to be caught, the one that is thrown in cleanup. And the one that
What
is
are you
thrown
talking about? I don't understand.
Yeah,
Catch exceptions has two arguments usually, right?
Yes.
Okay,
And
are you proposing a third argument for catch exceptions?
possibly to deal with this particular case, yes.
What?
I mean, generally, when you
I think we would
when
need
you
more
catch
details to have
exceptions, you
some.
very often need cleanup code, and so this would make it a single stop for for exception handling. You catch the exceptions, and you also make sure that the cleanup code is run.
Yeah, I mean, this
Okay, so
came
that's your
out in
point.
practice when I was
Okay, so
working on the code base.
okay, so the way you started here wasn't really the point. The point was not that with cleanup generates these two throws, which I don't think is that big a deal. The point was it is common to want to have a cleanup-like operation in an exception catching. Is that correct?
Yes, but I would say the point is both. Because if it wouldn't be for this problem, Steven, we could just combine with cleanup with catch exceptions with no problems.
But why does it have a second throw in it? Why can't you just say with cleanup of catch exceptions of blah?
Because if you do with cleanup and here catch exceptions, well, yeah, that's the alternative. That's exactly, if you are willing to do this manually, you'll need to do catch exceptions of whatever.
Yeah, okay, whatever thing. Yes, then what?
And then in here, we will need another catch exceptions possibly.
Why?
Because the cleanup may also throw.
Okay, but what if it's inside catch exceptions and the cleanup throws, then it will throw to the outside as well.
Yeah. So
what the hell difference does it make?
Well, the only difference it makes is that someone who needs cleanup code will have to be careful to always insert catch exceptions in proper places.
No, but it's still true. If the third argument of catch exceptions is cleanup code, if that cleanup code generates an exception, you still have to catch it. Correct?
Yes, but we can but we can, for catch exceptions with third argument, we can decide on the semantics in this case. For example, we can decide that the, so to speak, main exception is the cleanup one, and the one that was happening inside expr would be a sort of attached exception.
Leonid, I think we would need a much more detailed example to
okay, fine.
Dig into this. I am not following.
Okay. So then maybe this is for the next. It doesn't contradict any current design.
No, so just leave it. It'll
okay, fine. Then we
two throws. If you have two throws in the cleanup, it'll have two throws in it. So be it.
Okay, fine. Then in that case, I guess we discussed pretty much everything.
Right. Okay. There's another live stream coming right up, which is 33 minutes late right now. So, okay. Okay, here we are for our second design review of the day. This is about machine learning and LLM Evaluator. This is the default, right? This is going to be the default.
Yes, we are adding the CAG support basically to all the LLM functions.
Okay, LLM tool, support for JSON-based tool definition. What does that mean?
This is something, and this time I'm wondering if you can bring up the documentation for LLM tool. This is something that I was asked for by Rick, and the idea is that right now we have an interpreter spec for like LLM tool that allows you to define basically what the parameters are. Yeah, you know, the tool needs a city, the tool needs a color or an array. But very often, if you just import tools from the wild, it looks like an API function basically. Yeah? Has the same type or a full function.
What
okay.
This looks like.
So very often, if you have
yeah, I understand. Where would you put the JSON?
Simply, instead of a second argument where you say city goes to city or something like that, you just the way I hook it up right now for Rick is that you put a list with the JSON spec, like as an association or a string, comma string JSON. This way it doesn't conflict.
Please?
Yeah, sorry, I forgot I had this item in the list. Basically, is see the second tool where it's a define a tool for running population of a city.
Yes.
Yeah, it has like city goes to city.
Yes.
Yeah. So this is this can be like that. So it's something that is not valid
not JSON.
Here.
This is our
exactly.
Right. So what does it look like if you're putting JSON in there instead?
Sorry, I mean, I forgot that.
What does it look like? I mean, it's going to have some string that has something of the form, you know.
Yeah, like
city,
CD,
blah, blah, blah. City
something
colon
like
string,
yeah.
right?
You're just going to dump it from somewhere where you got it. Yes,
hold on a
exactly.
second. What does it specifically look like? Does it look like something like this, or does it have new lines in it? What does it look like?
It doesn't matter. JSON spec can.
I understand that, but what does it? Okay, what you're proposing is that this second argument could be a single string. Is that correct?
Yeah, we need some way to escape it. Yeah.
No, we don't. Not if it's a single string.
A single string is a valid interpreter spec.
But not without its name. Oh, yes, it is. You're absolutely right. Yes, you're absolutely right.
I mean, we can keep. It's not super relevant. We can keep it hidden. I can send you an example. So I'm unprepared. I'm sorry about this because I really forgot I had this item here. It's something that is neat to have, but not like.
Well, what I would suggest as an alternative here is that we have instead something that says, you know, import blah blah blah, comma, JSON LLM tool or something. That it's an import type and that we convert it to our specification. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yes, I'm thinking because here you have a tool name, and I don't know if there's the JSON spec is strictly speaking the parameter scheme.
Okay, right.
You still miss the name and the description. Yeah. I mean, it is something very small, but yeah. Let's look at the meat of it. So neural networks. Something that you might want to see. So evaluation backend. This is a new option that you are adding to help people basically get, and there's a ref page about this up to date.
It's not a good name. Remember, we have names like LLM Evaluator.
I came prepared. My suggestion for this is to call it Net Evaluator.
That sounds very reasonable. Or Net Model Evaluator. I think Net Model Evaluator will be the most consistent name.
Why so? We use net for everything. We never say model, except in net model.
I guess you're right. You're right. I agree. That seems very reasonable to me, to have a net evaluator.
It rhymes, sort of.
You might still want to go there and see what the settings are.
Yep. I mean, the only way why we might need a better, like a more generic name is want to reuse it in other functions.
Well, I know, but then we can redo the name. I mean, it's
yeah. Okay, so remember that this works in tandem with target device. Yeah, it's a complex
I understand.
three-dimensional array where on one axis you had this, on the other target device, and on the third axis you have your machine like system ID. Yeah, because they all kind of talk to each other.
Yes.
So in this case, what we have right now is immediately documentable is MXNet and ONNX runtime,
And
which
Torch,
will make it
right, in this version.
exactly. I mean, Torch, we have to decide if we want to immediately document it and leave some stuff out, whatever was not, we will never have like training, for example, for 15.0.
That's fine.
Yeah.
So, I mean, this would say target device. So if you say net evaluator goes to Torch,
exactly.
does that imply a GPU or not?
No, that implies that your target device can be any of the ones supported by Torch. So
okay.
CPU.
So target device GPU is, so now the question that we were asking before, and somebody raised this actually at the tech conference, is will target device default to GPU if you have one?
This is something that yeah, exactly. We should talk about it. The point is the GPU evaluation is inherently less safe and less sanitized than GPU is less safe than CPU evaluation.
I know.
So
is that still true on the Mac these days?
We have to do more extensive testing with Metal. Like CoreML is not stable at all, because if you use CoreML as a backend, you're basically giving the wheel to the steering wheel to Apple, and Apple is free to decide that each and every piece of your computation can happen on CPU, GPU, or neural engine, and can you move stuff here or there? So it's like it's not super stable. Metal is a bit more stable because it's just it's like CUDA is a GPU language, and you're writing code. You have more control. You're directly writing code for the GPU. So basically, right now, if you say target device GPU on a Mac, we use ONNX runtime to generate an executable. You cannot use it for training, though. Yeah. When we will have Torch hooked in for both training and evaluation, GPU can map to Metal, for example. So the idea is that GPU is a higher level term here. And
okay,
can you also open the target device page, because it's already complex, and if you don't look at them in tandem, it becomes even more entangled. So this has been updated. Now the two big terms are CPU and GPU. One suggestion we had a while ago was that maybe GPU should really go, and we should do something like accelerated or something which is less connotated.
No, not right now.
Okay, yeah. I mean, I understand your point, but yeah, that would be more correct. But I see there's some branding in having GPU support.
Yes. Okay, so what's the question here? What is the question?
No, I mean just trying to show you what's happening. Right now, this one here will have Metal enabled as a new thing. Metal is a GPU language on app, and that's only going to be available on Mac.
I understand. I got it.
Okay.
And hopefully you've got sensible messages if you try and start this up on other machines.
Yeah, of course. Everything is code earlier.
Message, you say use GPU, use available GPU-like hardware or something. I think
I see your point.
Wording. I mean, this was written probably 10 years ago, before modern times when GPUs are a brand, a $5 trillion worth brand.
Okay, I see your point. Okay, so basically this is it. Now we are basically detangling the first evaluator level.
Untangling.
And yes, we are untangling.
Okay, all right, fine, good. This is not a named thing. PyTorch link is not something anybody will ever see. Is that correct?
Unless you want to use it to write your code.
Why wouldn't we call it Torch link? Why isn't it called Torch link?
It is Torch.
We can.
I mean, I don't know why we called it PyTorch link. It is Torch.
We started by calling it link, please. Months ago, but okay, we can rename it
Torch link, because that's what it is. It's linking to the C library, Torch C library, and
C++. Yes, exactly.
Okay. Support for new backend. Wonderful. Okay, let's move on. Any more to say about this section?
No, if you're happy about the name, this is it. This is
Net
going to be it.
evaluator. Sounds just fine to me.
Okay.
And default will be automatic.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. And what do you want to do with automatic? That's a loaded decision.
You decide. I mean, you've argued that we should not go to GPU by default for anything, even inference. I am surprised by that claim. Okay, for something like a Mac, a modern, Apple Silicon Mac, I thought they had things well enough under control that we could actually use that. I think we should test that.
It's under control if you control the model. So for like what we did already was a system function when they can, they're on the right system.
Yeah. They
automatically go to GPU. But in that case, we know the networks, so we can test it.
Yes.
This is what we decided, like any year ago.
So I think what we should consider doing, we're going to have some summit meeting about progress monitoring sometime soon. But one possibility is to do what we do for out-of-date resource functions, where we run it, but we put up a blue thingy dingy that says there's a new version available, right? You've seen those.
Yes, I did.
Made
yeah.
those, right?
I use that. No, that I didn't do, but yes, I know what you're talking about.
Right. So maybe we should do the same thing here. It should basically say, you have the possibility of doing this as a GPU thing. You just go ahead and run it with the CPU, happy, but you put up that blue thing saying you can do this and have a button that says basically do this operation with GPU next time. Or something.
Yeah, but we could build something using set option that replaces a default
well,
or something.
I'm not sure whether the set options is what we want to do. Whether
I need to think a bit about the implementation. But yes.
Look, internally, it should just go to somewhere to see what to do with automatic. That's what I think.
Yeah. No, I see. We could use a persistent value to make it dependent on your system and not on your session. If you wanted to survive kind of restart.
That'll be fine. I mean, I think that. So anyway, that would be my suggestion for how to handle.
Yeah. So we could have a message that comes once per session. So if you reuse the function, we don't bother you too much if you dismiss it with an X.
But I mean, my whole point is that be one of those blue things that sits there. You can exit away, or you can say, yes, go ahead and activate this. It basically says, you could probably do this with a GPU. Want to try?
Yeah. And reasonably, we should have this, if this fails the second time around, we should have a message that says, looks like GPU is not working nice with this model. Deactivate it.
Right.
Or even directly we are deactivating it.
Yep. That's what I would do.
Okay.
I mean, the other thing we could do is have a function. I mean, maybe we should have a somewhere like a net test function, but that isn't the right term for it. I mean, maybe there's a general concept of trying to run a piece of code on the GPU and seeing if it works. I mean, typically when it fails in GPU, it doesn't crash, right? Because the operating system is not entangled with the GPU.
It might hang, for example. Maybe stuff might get out. I remember when I was testing CoreML, stuff was definitely hanging things.
Okay, that's the thing we should determine from other people, whether that can happen. In other words, whether there can be a permanent hang as opposed to a timeout of some kind.
Yeah, no, and it's any point of testing. Yeah, you need to be able to control it to kind of sandbox it.
Yes, I mean, but if that's the case, maybe we should have a function. We could start it off in the function repository that just tests, is this thing going to work with the GPU? Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah, I see your point.
I mean, it's a slightly weird concept. It's kind of like the things we do for network connectivity, where we say, hey, is there anybody at the other end of this connection?
Like a ping.
Yeah, we have another way of doing that as well. I forget what it's called. It's a URL function. Anyway, that would be what's that?
URL read?
No.
It is returning okay.
No. Well, yes, that might be right. But then there's one that just tests if it's there. I don't remember. Anyway, okay, let's continue into these, please. Okay.
Okay, this is the other big thing.
Right. So do these mostly have arguments or not?
Yes.
Okay, so open, yes, open the polynomial model, for example, is the one that I clean up for this demo. We are working on one, so we can then port it. So basically, the basic structure of this is that you have like 3 arguments. Yeah. In the generic case, yeah, the first argument is hyperparameters. Hyperparameters are, in generic case, more than one, and you can always input them as an association. So here you can say association degree goes to 4 to have a 4-degree polynomial. We are nice though, so if you have only one hyperparameter, you can just put the value in. Yeah. So you can say polynomial model 2, 3, 4, which makes, I think, perfect sense. Then second argument is optional and is the parameters. Now, the reason why it's optional is because you don't always need them. The reason why is the second argument is kind of legacy consistency with like linear, nonlinear model fit, find, fit. If you prefer to have the optional argument at the end, we could switch the parameters to be at the end.
What's the one?
Well, okay, that's the variables. Yeah. So you have hyperparameters, parameters, and variables. So variables, again, we are nice. So you can say x, y, z. Or if you don't bother because you don't need to have the names, you can say, I just input size is 1.
So I
input
don't understand.
size is 2.
The 2 is the second argument there. The fact you bothered to give something there, as opposed to just have it be auto-named. If it's auto-named, what are those names?
For the parameters?
Yes.
Right now, C1, C2, C3, the same C that you have in dissolve or integrate.
Okay. But so the fact is, there is no new information. That second argument gives no new information relative to the first argument, at least in this case.
Except if presumably you can lock one down and keep some free.
Yeah, you can use arrow syntax.
Let's say that you wanted the B to be 2, but the other ones to be fitted.
Exactly.
I mean, odd choice,
yes.
But let's say C that you picked,
0 or something.
Yeah. Now, I think the only choice here is if you want variables to be second or third.
Okay. So I mean, all of our other fitting functions go this way around. So unless we're killing those functions, which I don't think we are.
I would make survive like fit and find fit. I would definitely keep because they are lower level. They are like directly linking to C code. They're very fast. I would obsolete not this version, but in 1 or 2 versions.
I would go slow.
Obsolete linear model fit.
No, I know, but I would go slow with that because I think there's a huge amount of code that relies on them. That would be.
Yeah, we're not going to obsolete anything. We're just going to, and I think fit. There are many. Okay, dealing with the obsolescence of these things is a separate problem. Let's get to that in the next version. Okay, most likely it's going to start generating messages and suggestions and this and that and the other.
Exactly.
Okay.
Oh yeah, by obsolete, and I never meant to stop having them stop working. Of course, they will work.
Okay, I'm trying to understand. If I have a bivariate polynomial model, okay, I don't understand what the heck I'm doing here, because what I would expect here is that this is telling me it's univariate, isn't it? I mean, in other words, if I leave the 1 out, it's exactly the same, right?
Yes, it's faster to write 1 instead of ABC. So the short form is 2, 1. If you want to write a univariate polynomial of degree 2, you write polynomial model 2, 1.
Okay, fine, but this works, true or not true? Does this work? The two argument form?
Yes, but right now the second argument is optional. So like you cannot have both optional.
No.
You need to
You're not
decide.
understanding my point. My point is this
that is the 3 inputs.
Right?
Yes, this works.
Right. But I'm asking you whether this form works, yes or no?
Yes, but with a different meaning of what you expect. That is a 3
That's no
input.
good. That's no good.
They cannot both work. Then that is a valid list of variable names. That is a polynomial degree 2 in the variable A, B, and C. You cannot have both variables and parameters be optional. We need to keep one.
Okay, that's a shitty thing. To have this, to have that, 1 is not acceptable. We got to have a different solution. Okay, not going to work.
I mean, you could have 1, ABC. I mean, you cannot have.
No, we got a better solution that allows one. Okay, so the issue is, if I put X here, we're all good.
Yes.
Right?
Yep.
Okay, so what we're dealing with is, how do we say that this is a univariate case, right? And the most obvious thing to do would be to say something like 1 arrow 2 here. See what I'm saying? Univariate.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes. I mean,
and never advertise the form where you have a 1 here, because I just don't think that's that's just ugly. No reason to advertise that form.
I mean, keep in mind that I'm trying to have a structure here that works for any type of model,
I'm well aware.
like nearest model or whatever.
I'm well aware. I think this will work. The dimensionality of the data, arrow, its sort of first hyperparameter information, seems to me something that's going to work in all cases.
Wait, so if one want to make this work in all cases, the 2 could also be association degree goes to 2.
Sorry, what are you saying here? This thing here could be...
The arrow could point to an association.
No, you have 1 goes to 2. Yeah, the most general case is 1 goes to association, degree goes to 2.
Yeah.
That would stand in for any. Okay.
Yeah, fine. I mean, you could also have something where the whole thing is where this instead is it's just an association, and it says dimensionality or dimension goes to 1.
I don't love it because that's not a hyperparameter. That's not really like a decision tree.
What is it? What is it? If
it's related to the data. It's related to the data. The point is that
all right, then have
you're
it
not
be in this form. Have this form here.
Okay. The only other issue I see there with that is if one parameter in the one hyperparameter could be a rule.
When will that happen?
I'm thinking. Like, for example, like we had the list syntax to basically provide a set of values for a hyperparameter, but I wanted to kill it because, for example, like nearest takes for the neighborhood. You could have all comma 0.2, yeah, all the neighbors in a radius 0.2. So you don't want to,
that's not a list. Is not a rule.
No, yeah. This was an example for like syntax that was, blocked from working. So I'm trying to think here live if there's some rule syntax that could be used.
Well,
I cannot think of any right now.
And yes, then disallow, not allowed. This one would not be allowed. Right?
Okay, so you only have like a symbol or a list of symbols in the third argument.
Yes, just like the other functions. If I put a 1 in the third argument of find fit, or fourth argument of find fit, it will not like it.
No.
Right? So I think we should be consistent there.
Okay. So you have the rule or only the left hand
themselves?
Only the right hand side of the rule, because, for example, when you have inference on data or model fit, you can infer automatically what's the dimensionality. Yeah.
Right. Okay, let's look at some of these others, like decision tree model.
Yeah, the documentation for all the others is not nearly as cleaned up as the first one, but yeah, they are.
So the decision tree model has a print form. Well, let's see, these models.
You are not on prototype though, yeah, because they should have a value in prototype.
Yeah, I'm in prototype. Oh, that's not the right thing. Was this not being opened in prototype? Let's take a look. Perhaps not. Okay.
Yeah.
Everything's
now it looks more like it.
Okay. Everything's broken here. Okay, now I have to reopen the palette. Wonder how long we'll be calling it new DocuTools. Looks the same to me.
No, it's fine. It was not the page the issue, that you couldn't evaluate any symbol.
Right. Okay. So what does this do in decision tree model? What does it look like?
I mean, they all look like evaluate one of those polynomial model or just write decision tree model with an empty list, with an empty, polynomial model 2 will give the 20. Yeah. This is just this. And if you say 20, x, you will see the actual formula, because right now it doesn't know how many variables, so it cannot make it explicit. But if you say 20, x, it can.
I don't think that worked. 1, for example.
No. You can also put like x. Well, like you didn't like the
yeah,
one.
but you shouldn't be allowed to do that. We agreed you're not.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Uh,
so let's be clear.
Mm-hmm.
In the future, you will not be able to. This thing here will be 1 arrow 20. Correct?
Yeah. Yes, but how do you handle when I do have names? Like
well,
right now, you do 20.
I don't think it works.
But we need a way to give name to dummy variables.
You should have complained about that just now.
Yeah, I didn't realize that we were blocking the design.
Obviously, we're blocking that design because you've chosen. Okay, look. Don't we know? In this case, we expect a list with 21 elements, correct?
Yes. I mean, you can evaluate it. You see it in the summary box.
I
probably
know,
won't fit, but yeah.
Okay. I know. But my point. I mean, it's quite nice to be able to give that variable
there. It is also essential because we remove it from model fits to avoid having 4 arguments.
Then what we discussed before, you just missed on, right?
Yeah, I told you it's my fault. I didn't realize that we're killing X.
Fine. So the issue is, if you give a pure 2-argument form like this, right? What does that mean?
Run it. It's a polynomial in ABC of degree 2.
I understand. Actually, it's not. Look at what it just did.
Yeah, it's polynomial of degree 2 in ABC. You see a to the power of 2, AB, AC.
Oh, I see. It's consistent with this usage.
Exactly. I mean, how could I tell apart that is parameters, not variables? Exactly, and this is the other thing here. I mean, I think that except the number syntax that you don't like, the hyperparameter parameter variables is quite consistent in its own thing.
I kind of agree. I think 1 doesn't make it. I think having that elided form with 1 arrow 2 makes more sense there. Do you understand what I'm saying? So that's an alternative. Polynomial model of 1 arrow 2 chooses both these and this automatically. Am I making sense?
Yeah.
Whereas this chooses ABC automatically. Am I making sense?
Yes. But then we don't allow arrow plus the 3-argument form. Or we maybe allow it if it matches. Otherwise, we
I would
block
only allow a 2-argument form in this case. Right? The 2-argument form would consistently use that second argument. Right?
Wait, so so we have the second argument changes meaning if you have the
No. The arrow this now means. Oh, I'm sorry. No. That's right. The 2-argument form. In this case, if you have an arrow, the second argument is standing for what you would otherwise. Then the second argument is the second argument.
Yes.
But the point is that in this case, you've elided the normal second argument.
Yeah.
To use variables, right?
Yeah. I mean, are you fine with eliding the second argument in general? I mean, the only reason why we elide the second and not the third is, again, consistency with like linear model fit and friends, where you have, data basis function, for example, like let's say find fit has data, expression, parameters, variables, and all the other functions have parameter variables. Now, this is a new function, so in principle, we could have variable first and parameters later.
No, I don't think it's a good idea. I think it's fine.
Okay.
I think this will work. Now, small point. In the display here, well, how do I get out that actual expression there?
Evaluate it on X or on whatever you want. I mean, you could use information, but the fastest way is to evaluate it on X or Y or my var. It was symbolically and numerically. That was one of the core tenets of the framework.
Okay. The formatting of this as X1 is very unfortunate.
We need to decide. So this is something which is like a bit problematic in the language. We need to decide that we have a kind of the C thing is a standard for constants or like integration parameters.
Yeah.
So I'm using that for fitting parameters, but we don't have a concept of dummy variable. I use formal X.
I know we had that formal symbols summit meeting a little bit sorry. Sorry, I lost my train of thought because I got
formal X, formal symbol.
Yes. No. We had a summit meeting a few months ago about all the different ways that we have formal variables. This is yet another one. Am I making sense?
Yes. I mean, I would not like to reinvent the wheel if there's something
exactly.
planned
so you
or
might go look at what we already discussed there. And I think we should bring this to another formal symbol discussion. Yeah. For now, the only thing I would say is if you have only one variable, just don't put the sub1. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, I mean, I could do that in the display form. That's perfectly fine.
That's what I'm suggesting.
Already I'm using indexed, but I mean, this thing here is displayed using subscript. But of course, like internally, you have to use sub values. Otherwise, stuff like plot or fit will not work because you need a head with your symbol name.
I
so
there's
already.
So I'm just saying, print form wise, you can use formal X, but don't use formal X sub1 unless you need it.
Yeah, I will do it only if I have more than one.
Okay, all right. Now, in the decision tree case, for example, does this have?
Okay, so you look at the third one. The third one is more like it has more hyperparameters. For example, you see it has the max depth and min samples.
So that's all just displayed in this very textual way.
No, I display that. I displayed that as an expression. Yeah, no, this is not is not ready because you don't.
I understand.
It is an error.
What do you mean you displayed it as an expression? I don't see an expression here. I see a bunch of.
Yeah, you see, it's open. You can close it. You will see automatic because it's not fit. But if you scroll down to there should be one fit tree in there. Hopefully, otherwise, if you go to the model fit page.
Tree. Hold on a second. Just like with networks that have not been trained, right? We should probably do the same kind of thing here with an unfitted. You know what I'm saying? Just like
because the untrained network exists. The unfit tree doesn't exist. It only exists after fitting.
Yeah.
I mean, there's no tree.
I mean, an unfitted polynomial exists here, but there's no indication that this is unfitted, right?
No, because for the polynomial,
there probably should be an indication that it's unfitted.
I think that there's a slight difference in the sense that in all these other cases, we know the structure. For the tree model, we don't yet know the structure.
I get it, but Roger, can you please respond to my point that I think there should be a different visual look for an unfitted model as compared to a fitted model?
I see.
See what I'm saying? Just like if I do, net model of,
maybe it should be grayed out or something when it's not fitted.
Let's look at what we do here. This is
you see initialized. Yes.
Right. I mean, this is probably different. We don't quite. We could look at this design again. This is a little bit inelegant, but we could do something here that makes it clear that it's unfitted.
I mean, both are really useful, actually.
Both fitted and unfitted. Yes, I agree.
Yeah.
Yes.
I'm just saying that you should be able to see at a glance whether you're dealing with a fitted model.
Yeah.
Now maybe the ABC has been filled in a fitted model, but I think it'd be useful.
No. I mean, okay, we need to decide here. Yeah, like there's no. The only structural distinction between fitted and unfitted is that right now, by definition, all parameters are numeric. So if you say instead of ABC 1, 2, 3,
I just said. That's just
that is fitted.
That's what I just. Well, okay, fair enough. That's okay. So there's no notion of it came out of a fit. It's just.
This is something I try to do on purpose. Yeah, like there's no difference from this thing here written by you now and what would come out with the fit that creates 3, 4.
Yes, I think that's a good feature.
Yeah. The only thing that is important here is that I might want. So right now, this is the constructor, but also the full form. I might want to kill this equality because in the most general case, I use association for parameters. Yeah, for example, a decision tree, a neural network, a nearest model. We have a nearest function. We have if it is a classifier or a regressor, something like that.
Listen. I think we should have some indication here, whether it's a dot or something like this, just down here, so that one gets used to seeing that. And then this should have a thing that says, unfitted, or I don't know what it should say, but it's something. If you open it up, it should indicate that it knows that this is not an unresolved model or something. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah. I mean, in the long term, or we could have a design meeting where we actually, I'm using a summary box here, but we could have a custom box for these things as well.
Yeah, fine. But
I think this is something that you suggested at one point, but yeah.
Yeah, right. But I mean, I think we should have a little indication, maybe not necessarily for this version, but a little indication of when it's an unfitted model.
Yeah, yeah. And we track this. We track this internally. Yeah, if you can evaluate it to a number or not.
Okay, so that can be a separate line here and an indication in the closed form.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yes.
Okay. So let's say, for example, with neural model.
CMA is still called deep model, but
I'm sorry, say that again. What?
Try deep model. It was a previous. I don't remember if you added documentation page for this already because I added that very recently. No, it's not here. Sorry, but it's just it's the same as decision tree. It doesn't change much. It says instead of max depth, it will have depth with an activation, association, three hyperparameters.
I don't understand what a neural model is, as opposed to a net model or anything else.
It's a neural network, but we need to find a name for something that is a model object, same as these others. Yeah, inside it will contain a network. Same thing as a tree model contains a tree, but we need it's a parameterized neural network basically.
How is it parameterized?
Right now, the entry point is a multi-layer perceptron that you control with width,
what's
depth,
the difference between
and activation
this and an actual net model? Because net model has a lot of tentacles where we can actually use, you know,
you can extract the net model. The main reason the main use case I thought for this is that a lot of people in every workshop we do, bootcamp or what, they don't know how to write a neural network. Yeah, this is a gentle entry point. That you say, oh, I want to fit with a neural network.
This needs quite a bit of design because we're not going to redo a new version of net model. What I'm suggesting is that maybe this actually is net model, and that when we feed, because net model, let's see, let's say it's this, right? I'm a little confused by this. I think this requires more thought, and what a neural model is here.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying?
I mean, yeah, I understand your point. We can have a follow-up specifically on like some loose ends, including that.
Yep. Okay, let's keep going here.
Okay, so basically,
you have peak model implemented here?
No, you see, the 50 is the written 15.1. I mean, I have prototype, but there's a lot of serious business about peak fitting. That
I mean, it would be lovely if neural model was trivially gettable from net model. Let's talk about it. Why don't you think about it? Because I think it's a mess. Because think about how complicated all the different net models are. I mean, the only point here is that you know the data that's coming in. Making sense? Just like classify. Okay, let me understand. Okay, what's the difference between predict and model fit for this case?
Now, we should probably, I mean, the main difference is that predict has embedded feature extraction, while in this case, we don't touch the data. And this is an important difference.
Okay.
Then the other difference is that I want to be more explicit with this. So yeah, it's not something like inside predict we use an arbitrary neural network. I want to document it. This is a multi-layer perceptron. You have like these 3 parameters you can control, and that's it. Like if you want something more, use the neural network framework.
Maybe it should be called that if that's what it's perceptron model.
Oh, as well, we could.
And then it's less of a.
Yeah, I mean, perceptron model seems fine. I mean, just because my friend Marvin tried to, torpedo his enemy Frank Rosenblatt's work doesn't
yes.
mean that.
But those, I think he looked at 1-layer perceptrons. I didn't look at.
Yes, right. I know. But I mean, I think. Perceptron model might be the right thing to call it, because neural model is way too general. Like, oh, it's a transformer. Oh, it's a whatever. See what I'm saying?
I mean, I don't see why we couldn't eventually support those things there too. But...
Absolutely, we should. But Giulio is saying he wants to be able to.
No, Giulio's absolutely correct. Easily parameterizable things makes them accessible.
Yeah. Also, one of the goal for this is to have a very low, very low friction procedure to add new models. Yeah. So it's built for synonyms and shortcuts and stuff like that.
I wonder whether calling it MLP model might be the right thing for the multi-layer perceptron.
If we want to go with acronyms,
I don't know. I don't know how people know it. I mean, I think perceptron model. Oh, for God's sake! It's a little weird. It seems a bit 1950s to call it perceptron model. But it's absolutely wrong to call it neural model, I think.
I mean, we can leave the name in, again, if we are going to have a follow-up to design this stuff, we can.
What about that possibility? Perceptron net model. Well, what do we call it? We call it linear layer, don't we? We call this linear layer.
But you don't want to call it linear model. Oh, linear layer model? By the way, but this is not a linear layer. This is more than one. Linear layer is never multi-level. You're going to suggest the wrong thing.
Well, okay. Perceptron net model seems not totally crazy, even if it is a little bit of a, you know, a double naming, because the perceptron is already a network. Although the fact that people call it a multi-layer perceptron, I don't know.
Well, if you want to be strict, then perceptron is for binary classifier. This is for both classification and regression.
Okay, well, I'm weakly supporting perceptron net model.
Okay.
Okay. Okay.
Okay. Yeah. Let's maybe just having a look at the model fit syntax. I think you already look at that. Here, fit a single model. So we say that for this version, we don't want to have a single argument form. We you know, only fit models or model families. If you open the model fit page, you can see what all this stuff can be. So you can have like a single model or a list of models or the 3 argument form with the properties. So for so basically this is switches mode. Yeah, the single model is just calling fit or find
don't
fit.
do it this way with the ... there, please.
Okay, fine.
Data, comma, models, comma, props. Otherwise people will be confused that it has a 2 argument form like that.
Okay. I just saw it done in other pages, but yeah, I'll put it back.
Then find out where it's been done and report it to Eric and Jeff, who are trying to go through and deal with these messes.
Okay, good.
It's a bad idea.
Okay, so I mean, if you just want to have a look at the function, the first argument is data. It takes all our way of having data, just Y's, rules, tabula with the rule. Okay. Then you have this extended rule syntax for like X and Y's. And yeah, the model spec can be either a string, so it goes well with list plot.
Okay. The thing that I can't get out of this, I want to get the frigging function. How do I get it out?
Model fit quadratic comma expression.
Hate this. It'd be nice if there was something, you know, there's the same problem with the algebraic numbers. It's like, here it is. Can I copy paste it? No, I can't. Why not?
But in those cases, you can. I mean, if you click on it, you do get something. We could probably.
We can make it click to copy if you the expression.
Well, I wonder whether we want that. Okay, that's probably something we should get, because we need to be able to get, if it's called parameters. See what I'm saying? Look at this. It's called.
Yeah, we decided to get this stuff through information.
Well,
we can also.
It should also be able to get it out that way, right? Do you understand what I'm saying?
No, I understand what you're saying.
There's no reason why you can't get parameters. Why should I have to go look up some silly thing? I want this. I want parameters, etc. Make sense?
Yep.
If I want variables, I should be able to get it like this.
Yeah, I didn't think of that because it's just wasteful, but yeah, I understand your point.
Why is there fitted model and fitted models plural?
Well, if you have, I'm going to clean this up, but the fitted model is converting the best model to fitted model. What if you're fitting a list of models and you want all of them
fitted
converted?
Model list.
Okay. No, this is an old build. Look at the one or maybe it just wasn't picked up today. Look at the other page. My proposal for the model fit report is that thing that you see there below. I'm gonna go with design through this to have
Don't have that traditional form. That's very confusing.
Okay, the reason why
brackets for.
Yes, the reason why this is not spelled as a function is because if you have more than one hyperparameter, I'm putting those in the sequence, like decision tree, like 10, 2, 1, for example. I don't have a better
I think
idea.
This is not the right way to do it. I think you should say type. This is a model fit, right? So this is, call it model type, polynomial. You know, and then you can have.
I understand this thing, but I think this right now is called internally as a property is called short name, and I think we need that property because we use it all the time for like legends in plots and stuff like that. You know, how do we quickly summarize without writing the full form?
Well, each one is going to need a summarization. I mean,
like a short string form.
But that's not the right form. Paren 4 is not the right form.
Okay.
But I don't know what to do with these more complicated things. You know, if you have a two-dimensional thing of degree, 6 and 2 or something, I don't know how you'd specify that.
I mean, right now I'm only putting hyperparameter there. Like an exponential model that has no hyperparameter is just called exponential model because the dimensionality is, all these models, we have the same dimensionality in this report. Yeah, because they fit on the same data. So it's kind of, unnecessary to say that. You only need to say what.
Okay, do you have a table of what you propose to put for each one of your model types?
Yeah, it's like simply the name, polynomial in this case, the type, and then I need some way to give the hyperparameter. Can you open the cross-validation information? If it is saved in here, there was a bug where it wasn't saving that. No, it's not. I don't think it's saved because there's something ugly instead of what you should see there.
Okay. I think it's going to have to come back for another meeting.
Yeah, I can create a table
next
with
time,
this stuff.
Can you please, I mean, what could we do here? Again, we got to see all of them, right? Because
basically, you want a table with all the possible models and all the other parameters that they can get, including none.
No. And I want your proposed short names for them.
Yeah. I agree. I understand.
I'm thinking. Roger, do you have any ideas here?
I'm thinking that it depends. Will this ever list the whole list of models?
Well, can you scroll down in this notebook?
Because in that case, if that's the case, we need something really short.
And
then we need sort of tooltips or
validation
something
set in
else.
options. Just open that one. Okay, and if you scroll down, there's some point there's a plot, and you see a bunch of them together. Wait, it was here. So let me quickly tell you where it is. It's close by. Open the talk tools.
Because this thing of trying to get sort of a very abbreviated text is gonna be hard to carry out as we grow.
I agree. Where is it really going to be used?
Yeah, I think it's good.
Sorry, Stephen, it was in the one below criteria function. Sorry. Yeah. You see this kind of thing. You want to be able to compare
terrible. This looks terrible right now.
Right.
Yeah.
And so what we need is basically kind of like a model identifier, like something that says like model 1, 2, 3. And then
Can I make a suggestion here? Just give it a string name, and in the case where it has to be short, elide it with ... dots in the middle. So it could say polynomial of degree 3, and it becomes poly ... 3. And everybody's happy. I
We
have
could
the
do-
mouse over.
Right. That we could try that, but we could also try kind of like I think you've used this already, Stephen, like kind of like a unique identifier thing, but not the full long, do you know what I'm saying? Because we literally only need like sequence of integers or something. Like, you know, if I'm trying 100 models,
Yeah.
there's like 100 numbers, that's all.
I don't think that's, I mean, look, it depends on the use case. You have to be more specific in the use case. This particular thing with a
Yeah.
cross-validation chart, obviously you could do that here,
Hmm.
right? Obviously you could set it up so that, I mean, first of all, you could flip the chart on its side and then you wouldn't even need to have, you see what I'm
Right.
saying? Flip the
Yes.
chart on its side and just have each line rather than repeating it twice, which is completely crazy here.
Yeah, no, here because I'm testing.
No,
I
just-
wasn't sure if to put it on the legend or on the
Right, just
on this
flip
guy,
it.
but yeah.
Flip this so that these things go across, right?
Yeah.
And then you can just give the names narratively like text.
Yeah, makes sense.
So that's that solution for that case. I think having a kind of a common name for one of these models is a good idea. But it's going to get very squiggly because if you have a degree 7 polynomial where the odd numbered coefficients are set to 1 or something, how do you specify that?
Yeah.
Right? The only way to specify it is using our nice language.
But they get very long eventually. I mean, could get at
Of course
least.
they get very long. Look, I think the right thing to do is use the symbolic forms, polynomial model, et cetera, expecting to do elision in certain cases. I mean, these things like legends should automatically elide, whether it's a model thing or anything else.
Yeah, but then you get something like, for example, decision tree model. Then you have the first argument will have an association where you could have, I don't know, like 4 or 5 hyperparameters, sometimes 10.
Yeah, okay,
Then
great. So
okay.
what? If everything
No, that's
elides
fine.
automatically, if the legend elides automatically, it will just say decision tree ... See what I'm saying? The
This is why
will
this is
contain
why
the
I
full thing.
added the short name property, because I was
I don't think
actually
it's a good idea.
sick of seeing polynomial model ... and not be able to at a glance
Yeah, but
tell
that's
apart
just because
them
the
apart.
elision is not working correctly. If the elision worked correctly, you'd see the beginning and the end. See what I'm saying? It's not going to work.
Yes.
You can't have a short
yes.
form for something which isn't short. And there is no natural short form. It's not like, you know, something like ARMA, ARMA, you know, there's a standard abbreviation for that. There
Right.
isn't for any of this other stuff. So I think you arrange it so that something like this doesn't need the short form and just has generic elision. That is my suggestion. I would remove
Okay.
the short form property. I don't think it's usable.
I'll try that and see how it displays. I'm afraid we're gonna run into issues, but I'll see what I can do to solve
There's
them.
probably an issue with the elision mechanism.
I mean, the point is that it's very difficult to elide thing in a way that always show what is important, because elision is a
I'm well
neutral.
aware, right? So I mean, that's why elision is hard, and that's why short, which you know hasn't been rewritten in 30 years, should be rewritten.
Yeah. I mean, I cannot disagree with that, but yeah.
Two comments from our live stream. Dongs is commenting that this idea of having a visual differentiator for things which are sort of converged or resolved versus things which are not could be something that was quite general. To some extent, I mean, things like interpolating function, they just do what they do. Well, that's an interesting point. I mean, in other words, if you have an ND solve that had a bunch of messages that said this is going to give the wrong answer, maybe we should indicate that in the ND solve object. That's a suggestion there. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Let's send that to an LCC meeting, please. Avery or whoever is here dealing with that, could you please take a note of that?
I'll make a note. Okay,
Yeah, no, I got it.
Thank you.
Okay. And the second comment was from Rude, who was commenting on, I think, on our discussion about the name for neural model, AI model, multi and single and so on. I don't know. I think AI is even worse than net, probably.
Oh yeah.
In terms of,
oh my God.
It's super loaded. Yeah.
Yes, could be anything, and it's popular this year. But you know, we were about to strip out all mentions of AI 5 years ago.
Yeah.
Okay, what else do we have to cover here?
Well, this is the big thing. The rest is we are going to add some new models to NetRepo around system function that we're releasing.
Good.
If you want to have a look at our like kind of menu of models that I put above here, just so you know what we are going to scroll up a bit, what we are about to release. So right now we have like these models for my hierarchy. Yeah, you have like base model, like linear, non-linear. And then it's easy to add on top of them. So, for example, polynomial is a special breed of linear. Power, exponential, log are special breeds of non-linear. Then you have generalized linear with logit and
probit. I don't understand. How does a non-linear model get specified?
Non-linear model x comma params.
It's very
is the most generic form. Is the most generic form of model. Whatever you want. This is basically just non-linear model fit without the data.
I'm just wondering if it should be called nonlinear model.
Should be called expression model.
Function model or something.
Are you comfortable with that? It's an expression, not a function, but yeah. I mean, I myself was thinking expression model for a while.
Functional model?
I mean, if you look at these models, you know, like linear is the simplest. But that doesn't mean linear in your independent variables. It means a set of basis functions. So it's linear in the parameters. Then generalized linear is one level up. It's mildly nonlinear. It's basically a scalar function applied to a linear model.
Yeah.
And then
this has always been, honestly, for 50 years, this has confused me. The fact that they're called general linear models and so on.
Yeah, I think it confuses everybody.
Why is it not general linear model? Why is it called
That's a different thing. A general linear model is multi-output. And the author of those two, isn't it the same person, Roger? And I think he even apologized for the naming.
Yes, unfortunately. Same guy came up with generalized linear and general linear, and they're totally different. General linear means vector output.
Okay. So what's generalized linear?
Generalized linear means that it's a non-linear function applied to a linear model.
Oh, that's horrible.
Like a logistic regression, for example, is generalized linear. Yeah, is a sigmoid.
Thank you for helping a thing which I have been mildly confused by for millions of years.
Right. So I think we should do this on these model pages. I have kind of developed like a simple formulas that you can very at a glance understand what kind of structure the model is.
Yes.
You know, and if you'd seen that for generalized linear, you wouldn't bat an eye. It would be obvious to you. It's like, oh, okay. You know, it's a half step between linear and nonlinear, basically.
Okay, what happens if I want two powers? I mean, in other words, if I'm, you know, I want to fit, I don't know, two exponentials to something. Do I just use nonlinear model?
Yeah.
What do you mean by two exponentials?
Sum of two exponentials or something.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I wouldn't go overboard. Like they need to be clearly defined to be useful, these shortcuts.
I agree.
And one thing I would like to do here is like slowly kind of incorporate like our machine learning models as well. You know, right now I have a decision tree, you could have random forest in a nice ensemble way. We have a perceptron model, we have nearest, and we can add support vector machines, we can add Gaussian processes, and they all will have a nice documentation page and explanation about why you would care.
No, I think that's great, but we also have a long checklist of statistical models to add.
Yes, as well, exactly.
And where do things like ARMA models come in?
Exactly.
They wouldn't be here. They would be,
different.
you know, so we, they would be things where we model things over time, where
I
there's
understand, but why isn't model fit? Why doesn't model fit also work with time series?
It does, but it doesn't
No.
use the time component. I mean, it treats that as a function, not as a time series.
So, okay, so here's the fundamental thing that a model fit does. It views a particular output as a function, a particular, you know, a variable as the function of the other variables at that, for that data value, for that row, if you like, in your data.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. When you have time series, what you often have is that your output depends on previous rows or previous times. There's correlation, you know, over time. And that violates the fundamental principles of regression and model fitting. And so you need something that's tuned to that, like how far back you're going to look in data.
Hence the autoregressive aspect.
Yes. And so that's where all those things fit, you know, and it needs to, we need a language that sort of refers back in time, basically, or forward in time.
But I mean, I can imagine wanting to use an autoregressive idea to just fit some random piece of data, having nothing to do with the fact that it's time.
Oh yeah, absolutely. But it needs to be this sort of, and yes, I don't think that it has to be time per se, but it has to have this sort of regression, autoregressive type of nature, calling back into.
I understand, but I mean, I think, okay, so, you know, I think, you know, a future expansion here would be that I could perfectly well say I've got this random curve and I want to fit an ARMA model to this random curve.
Right. But I think that the fundamental setup for regression is this thing that the error model is independent between the different rows. Right? It's the same variance, basically.
Yes.
You know, and it's you know, mean zero, you know, or mean the function that you define.
Right. Okay. All right. We should try and go to some of the, we have a third live stream here. There's a mathematical computation one. Let's try and hit that for a little bit. And then I've got to go to something else.
Okay.
Makes sense? Okay, Julio, are we done here other than the things you're going to come back with?
I think so, yep.
Okay, very nice stuff. Well done. See you soon.